Oh, good morning, everyone. Welcome today to our webinar, Is Your Sales Pipeline Real? We appreciate you taking time out of your busy day. A little couple of housekeeping notes. You can find this in all of our webinars on our website at innovia.com under events. Also, on our events, you can find past webinars that we have done where you can sign up and it'll take you to our YouTube channel so where you can watch this. And we also do a podcast called the Innovia Conversation, and that is available on a lot of different apps for your iPhone or for your Android. And if you go there, it'll actually show you the different applications that it is available. Lastly, for those that are on the live webinar, there'll be some questions at the end of the session. You'll be able to type the questions in, and then we'll be able to address them. And then for those of you that are listening on through our website or our YouTube channel, you're more than welcome. My contact information is on there, so feel free to reach out and to ask me any questions. So let's go ahead and get started. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day. And this is a topic that I'm excited about: is your sales pipeline real? And normally the answer to that question is no. And so there's a lot of things that can lead to that, and we're going to have a discussion on to help you make a full and real pipeline. So before we get started, I want to ask a couple of questions. So the first question I want to ask you is that, do you feel that your sales pipeline is accurate? So if you're a salesperson, your own pipeline, or if you're a sales manager, you think you're the whole organization. And the second question that I want to ask is, do you feel your sales reps are putting in accurate data? Okay, are they putting the data in that you want to see? So those are questions that we will get back to. So a little bit about myself and why we're doing this webinar today. So my name is Steve Waltz, and with the customer engagement team here at Innovia, my contact information is below. And I've been in the great field of sales and marketing for over 30 years. Some of you have probably been on my webinars or been to some of my sessions. And I've worn many different hats. So when I graduated with a business degree from the Miller College of Business from Ball State, and my first job was in the automobile industry. And by the age of 24, I was in charge of putting a sales training program together for one of the largest dealerships in the Midwest. I still actually can coach and talk with some people that I knew back then. A few years later, I went to work for a large Fortune 50 pharma healthcare company where I spent about 25 years, and I retired there about 5 years ago. And after that, I did a little consulting on the side. I've been here at Innovia Consulting now for a little bit over 4 years. So over 30 years. And the neat thing about it is, to kind of give a 360-degree view of this conversation, is I've wore a lot of different hats. So what I'm most proud of, I carried the bag. So I've been a salesperson for many years. I've also been in account management, sales training. I've been on cross-functional teams, on new product launches, sales coaching. And what I do here at Innovia is I work with our leadership team, our engagement team, and our delivery folks to make sure that we are doing what we say we're going to do, and to help our customers and prospective customers understand how to use data to sell more product, increase the customer experience. So, you know, in my career, I've actually worked with 4 different CRM platforms. I've worked with Salesforce.com for many years. I've worked with ConnectWise, the CRM in NAB and BC. And then we also here at Innovia use the CRM for Sales by Microsoft. So I've had several different platforms and a lot of different hats. So I think I'm going to be able to bring this information and data to you to really help you understand on how to get the most out of your CRM and how to make your pipeline real. So I got some objectives and takeaways here, because since we have such a broad audience on this and that listen on our YouTube channel, there'll be different takeaways for different folks. So we have salespeople, sales managers, people from different walks of the organization, maybe leadership team, IT, and supply chain, and other different realms. So everybody will kind of get a little bit some of the different takeaways. And I always felt if you get at least 2 or 3 takeaways, then it's been a very successful investment of your time. So we're going to talk about the 3 types of opportunities. So a lot of stuff that we're going to talk about here is data-driven, but also from experience. So, but you know, the goal is to help you really understand and get in the mind of a salesperson about the different types of opportunities. The next one is, you know, how do you make a real and full pipeline? You know, there's been some research that, you know, by having too much in the pipeline can actually reduce your output. And some research showed by having a leaner pipeline by 30%, you can increase sales up to 50%. So having a real and full pipeline is very important. And then the next thing I have here is talking about a sales process. So, if you're one of the organizations, hopefully, then, in the half that has a sales process, good for you, but you're going to kind of have to understand that there's stages and cycles involved when you start automating processes. And it's sometimes it's difficult because, this is sales, so it's emotional. This is people dealing with people. And as each year goes by where we get more involved with data and automation, that is kind of lost, but it's so important. And probably the last thing I have here, which is the thing I hear the most, is how do you get salespeople to put the data in the CRM? That's the question I hear the most from organizations and from salespeople or sales management, right? Because if it's not in the CRM, it doesn't exist. Well, it does exist. And sometimes those deals can be big deals, all right? Just because it's not in the CRM doesn't mean they're not out there. We're gonna talk a little bit about that. So let's kind of get into the meat of the conversation here. So for most salespeople know what this word is, quota. Okay, if you're not in the sales side of things, so quota is the number that is usually given to a sales rep or a team on a number they need to hit on maybe on a monthly basis, quarterly, or annual, or all the above. And the number that is usually given to a salesperson is over 100% of really what is expected when the marketing and the leadership team figures out the numbers. And it's kind of a tug of war. I have a friendly tug of war below here because, for 70-80% of quotas are usually over 100%. But as salespeople calling on organizations to sell product or services, about 70-80% of projects are always under budgeted. So it's kind of a tug of war sometimes. And if you think about when you bought your house or you bought your car, you most likely went over your budget, okay? So you have this number, well, how are you gonna hit your quota? Well, a lot of it depends on your pipeline, which is your deals that you have in your CRM or, what the deals that you're working. So we wanna make sure that we have real deals in there and that they're workable. And, I want you to know the difference between the two because it's very important that you have a real pipeline to help you hit your quota. Sometimes what's lost in this is in this tug of war is not having the rules and the culture set up correctly, and we'll talk a little bit about that because at the end of the day, okay, the sales rep needs to be the CEO of their territory to be successful because sales is emotional and it is people doing with people. We're talking, a lot of our customers about AI, machine learning, but it's you're dealing with human beings and emotions, and sometimes things happen. So as a sales rep, everybody wants the top reps. It's kind of like in healthcare. You have the top surgeons and the bottom surgeons. Everybody, when it's time to operate on your loved one, everybody wants the top one. An organization with the top salespeople, and those are the people that where the buck stops with them. So a lot of times when you're automating processes, people think, hey, Steve, when I implement CRM, is that going to make my bottom performers better? And the answer is usually no, because they're usually a bottom performer for a reason. So a lot of things are going to be kind of assumed, right? That we're going to have good salespeople. You have a sales training program in place, and that these salespeople are driven and take full responsibility of the territory. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, how great a salesperson you are if you can't deliver it on time, you can't bill for it correctly, or you can't support the product. So the whole organization is really part of the sales team, but the rep needs to own it and not make excuses, really, for any sales organization to be successful. So the reason I bring that up is that this slide, I use this slide quite a bit, okay? So this is when a sales rep has to call their boss and tell them that the deal that they thought they had in the bag, they lost. Okay, maybe I've been telling my manager for 2 months, oh, I'm flying down there. It's a done deal. They told me we're going to get it. And you get down there and they said, hey, Steve, we're going with your competition, right? Class case of emotion. And this slide is very important because, because sales is an emotional type of passion-driven, results-driven career that I don't want to have these conversations with my boss if I don't have to. I want to minimize these. And the reason I have this on here is because if you put deals in and you lose deals, and every conversation is like that, are the sales reps going to put the deals in? Okay, so a lot of that depends on the culture of your organization and of your sales team. So we, as a salesperson or as a sales manager, they would avoid these conversations up the ladder. Okay, because most salespeople I know are competitive, and sales managers, which have probably the hardest job in any organization, are usually hyper competitive. So they're the ones facing with the customer and the salespeople, but also have to report up to the food chain, the leadership thing, why deals aren't moving. Because that's very important. And where there's a disconnect sometimes is, is understanding the opportunities that you have. So let's talk about the three types of opportunities. Okay, and now this isn't a lot of scientific data, but this is from my research and basically from my tenure of working with reps and CRM, what I kind of see. Because you have what everybody likes to talk about are the real opportunities that are in your CRM. Now, if you're not on the sales side, you need to understand that your whole pipeline is based on opportunities. And that beautiful funnel that you usually see is the data that's behind it. And those are the ones that normally you work in a process. So the real opportunities are the ones where you've had the original conversations, maybe, see if there's a fit and went on the next step. Maybe, okay, let's maybe go on site or maybe have a demo, or maybe let's have a more of a discovery type of call. So you kind of put those in your CRM, and those ones that everybody likes to have. Well, then you kind of have the next one, what I like to call the fluff. So what is the fluff? Well, let's say you had a deal you put in 5 months ago, okay, and they were ready, it was a real deal. Well, all of a sudden they went dark. You haven't heard from them. And the fluff depends on a few things. So if you're an organization that says, hey, I want every rep to have 20 opportunities in their pipeline, or I want every rep to have $2 million in the pipeline, that can cause the fluff to stick a little longer, right? Because if the owner of the company or the VP says you got to have 20 deals or $2 million, well, guess what the sales rep's going to do? They're going to probably have that in the pipeline. So that deal that I might have in there that's a couple $100,000 that I haven't heard back. Well, you know what, boss? They haven't said no, and I did follow up with them last week, so I'm going to move that one out a month. I'm going to move that one out a couple months. So the fluff can be in there, and we need to have an understanding of when should we remove that fluff. Then the last opportunity I have is the one that really organizations and people don't want to talk about. These are the deals that are in the minds of your salespeople, okay? And I'm telling you, those are real deals. And here's an example. So let's say you're at a trade show and you meet somebody and you had a great connection. They're happy with their current vendor, but they're like, hey, you know what? I like what you guys have to offer. Let's exchange cards and stay in touch. So 5-6 months later, you follow up and send a note, and they're like, hey, I appreciate you checking in, or sending me this information, and then but we're good right now. Okay, well then maybe 2 months later, all of a sudden they reach out to you, hey, can we have a conversation, right? So that's not an opportunity. That should be an activity outside of an opportunity in CRM and working it there, but some reps will live in their Outlook and live on their cell phones, but that is a real contact. So we need to make it safe for those salespeople to want to put those deals in their CRM and an opportunity. So to do that, we kind of really have to define what is an opportunity. As I just said a little bit ago, that is what drives your pipeline. So that when you put those in as an opportunity, that's what you kind of see on your funnel. But there's normally a disconnect between sales management and the sales rep on what is an opportunity. So we need to have an understanding at what stage in the process does it become one. Okay, so you have activities outside of CRM, like that one I just kind of talked about. Maybe I met this person at a trade show and I'm kind of working there. But all of a sudden it's like, wait a second, this person wants to have a call. We have a call and we think, oh, there's a fit. So he's going to get some more people from his team. I'm going to get some more people from my team. Boom, that should become an opportunity, right? So everybody has to figure out their organization. I don't know if you have 1, 2 salespeople, 10 or 100, if it's what the length of your process is. But the thing I have below here, is it safe for the sales rep to put the opportunity in your CRM? And this really affects kind of the culture of your organization, okay? Because what happens is especially if you have a thin pipeline, a lot of organizations, what will kill a sales rep or an organization is an empty pipeline, okay? And when an organization has a low pipeline, when deals get put in, usually there's a trust between the sales rep and the sales manager, or within your sales organization, that they were the right person, the right role, and they can handle it. But what happens is sometimes is leadership or other members of the organization want to keep checking in with the salesperson or saying, what's going on here? What about this? What can we do here? And so if I'm a sales rep, I really, one, want to avoid those conversations of the glass case of emotion, right? And two, I don't need people from outside the sales team constantly bombarding me on what's going on with this. Because what happens is when you kind of get to that mindset of a culture, you get into what I like to call the forecasting game. So we talked about if you have your number, you have to hit your quota. So if it's October and you're at 100% of your quota, or there's no more income to be made, and you're thinking, oh, the first quarter of next year is going to be kind of thin, I might hold that one out, which is called sandbagging, right? Because if the rep didn't put the deal in the opportunity, no one really knows it exists. So we want to welcome it to where the salesperson can put it in, because there's nothing you can do as a management team if you don't know about the deal, right? So once we have defined when we put an opportunity in, what is an opportunity, we kind of have to have what's called a sales cycle. So what I have here listed first is it an activity or an opportunity? So getting back to that trade show, that's an activity. Well, you have activities outside your opportunities and you have activities inside an opportunity, right? Once I now identify that as an opportunity, I should create my activities and link them to that opportunity. Because normally what happens is, depending on the size of the opportunity, you should have an account plan, okay? A strategic account plan. You start using maybe SMART goals, or time stamps, and different ways so you can kind of track it, okay? And it's okay to still have activities outside of there that maybe might be different from the opportunity, but we need to work with inside that opportunity. The next thing I have here is, do you have a sales process? Okay, so when you start defining your sales cycle, and we'll show it a little bit more when I show the picture of the funnel. But so when you move it down, after you meet somebody, or maybe you say, okay, let's have a conversation, see if there's a fit. Then you go to the next stage. Okay, maybe we go on site, or maybe there's a demo, or maybe we have to bring somebody else in, a subject matter expert. And then at that point, we have a recap, and then maybe a proposal, then we win it and lose it. So we're going to define our process. But sometimes what happens when you automate things, you forget that you need to align it with the buying process. Because the last time I remember, most customers don't care about my marketing plan and my timelines. They care about their company's goals, right? So we need to make sure it kind of aligns to where it has some flexibility. And lastly, one thing that a lot of organizations, when I engage with them or I talk with them, this is a question that I like to ask. So do you have a process for engaging with your salesperson when they put in an opportunity? And this not only goes to the sales manager, this should go within the whole organization. So it gets back to if it's safe for the rep to put it in. So if I'm putting an opportunity in, and like I said, if you have a thin pipeline, or the deals are low, it seems like this seems to happen more, where all these people get in, they start calling a sales rep, just randomly. What's going on? What can I do? Well, that doesn't really work well. So you need to have a process in place. There has to be this trust, all right, that you hired the right salespeople, the right sales manager, and let them do their jobs, all right? Getting back to the CEO of their territory mindset. So, you shouldn't randomly just keep reaching out and doing that, because if I'm a salesperson, I'm going to be a little bit more hesitant in putting these deals in. So let's get into the funnel, all right? I have here fuel the funnel. Like I said, what'll put a rep out, or a sales organization or a company out, is an empty pipeline. So we want to have a full pipeline. And you can see here, if you look at the triangle, the reverse triangle, you see the light blue, which is mainly the early entry into an opportunity, okay? And then you can see the next stage is usually the bigger one, okay? We've had that conversation of a fit. So in the stage or the cycle, we're getting to that next stage, to where maybe we're going to have a on-site visit, or maybe a demonstration, or bringing a subject matter expert. Then we're working down. Then maybe we're going to have a recap of that, and prepare possibly a proposal to send to them, and then win it or lose it. Now, what can happen is that the number that you assign, like maybe you're at 70% or 60%, whatever your sales cycle is, that is not a win probability. Organizations seem to want to use CRM for forecasting, and it can be used. CRM as a tool, okay? It can help you do that, But just because you're at 80% of the process of a deal, they're going to say yes or no, right? It's almost 50-50. We really don't know. We can influence, we can't control, okay? So we need to be very careful on that, because it gives you this false sense of having more in the pipeline than you think you have. So the next box I have to it are the open opportunities. So you can kind of see if you want to measure it out by stage or by sales rep or or by time frame. You can kind of use the CRM to kind of use that tool to help you and your team. Because to fuel the funnel and the mindset of a salesperson, okay, and what the organization needs to do. So the goal is to win as a team, right? We want to win deals, period. Okay. So a mindset of a salesperson, and should be, is create an opportunity, advance the opportunity, and close the opportunity. Because that aligns with the mindset of a salesperson, right? If you're looking for, maybe, if you're a hunter and you're looking and prospecting for new business, okay, you're trying to find people in, bring them in the pipeline, work them down the sales cycle, okay, win them, lose them, go on the next one. Okay, so create the opportunity, advance it, and close it. Where a farmer's mindset is more maybe an account manager, right? Where you're kind of you have a current account, and it's important, right? But you're nurturing in the account, but you still need to look for opportunities within it, because we want to grow. And so we also need to take a step back and say, okay, do we have hunters? Do we have farmers? Because the hunters are hard to find. All right, because you can look at it in thirds. You have the top third salespeople, the middle, and then the bottom. So you can have all the processes in place, right? All the tools, but is that going to make a bottom performer a top performer? No, it's not. It's going to be a tool to help them, okay? But if you got somebody out there, and I can count on my hand over 30 years how many hunters that have an extra hour to go prospecting want to go prospecting, and I don't even fill up my hand, okay? There's so few of them. So if you have those hunters looking for business, let them go looking for business, because there's so few of them, okay? And then maybe turn them over to the farmers. So we need to look as a team what we can do to help make a full pipeline. And lastly, what I have on here is rejection should be welcome. Since sales is an emotional type of job and it's people doing with people, and I don't want to have the glass case of emotion conversation with my boss or my organization a lot. If it's, especially if I'm going to be hammered on it, if the closing rate is the key, oh man, we have an 80% close rate. Well, that normally means you're not putting the deals in when they should be put in. You're just putting in the deals that are close to closing, okay? And maybe if rejection was welcome more, these deals could get put in earlier, and then you could start doing account plans, because it is so important as a sales rep to work with your sales manager on account planning on pretty big opportunities. So maybe you could identify things and really close more deals. Because what would you rather have as an organization? A rep that has 15 deals in the pipeline with an 80% close rate, or a rep that has 50 deals in the pipeline with a 50% close rate? So as each passing year goes by and we are becoming more and more dependent on technology, it kind of worries me a little bit that the data entry becomes more important than the customer facing part of it, because salespeople are becoming data monkeys. Okay, it's all about the data. We got to put the data in, and what's happening is that now the dashboard is becoming more of the focus in the relationship. I think back, when I was in the healthcare pharma industry when I first started, everything was, you would learn the product, here's the marketing plan, but you'd also want to learn how, it's all about the relationship with the customer and how you're going to help the customer achieve their goals. And then when I saw the CRM kind of get implemented, as it kind of moved forward, it was all about, it was this purely opportunity management, or what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And it wasn't about, customer service sometimes, it was assumed, but we kind of lost some of the focus on the relationship. And it became on, put all this stuff in your CRM, put all this in. The data is important, but the relationship is more important, okay? So we don't want you to get stuck in the mud on data entry, okay? You don't have to get stuck in the mud. Okay, because most people I know and I talk with are addicted to Excel spreadsheets. The problem with that is when you look at Excel spreadsheets all day long, or you look at the Salesforce, sometimes you get this false sense of participation. And not only do you get a false sense of participation, you kind of get, to the point where you think you saw the activity. It tells you what the activity was. It doesn't tell you what the quality activity or how that activity was achieved. So we don't want to get too stuck in the mud, because as last time I checked, the high value conversations are as important as the data that's logged in. Now, we want to be the ultimate sales organization, right? We want to be able to have those high conversations, but also have the sales team log in the data. So, we kind of get into how are we going to do that? And why don't salespeople do that? And normally what I see is, as I said earlier, the rep needs to be the CEO of their territory, and the sales manager needs to be the CEO of the sales team. Okay. So if I'm a sales rep, who am I using the CRM for? Am I using it for the man? Is it for management? And if it's for them, then how do I own it? Because I've done other sessions. I've done a session on, called Cracking the CRM Code. And when it's for the management team, for forecasting first, and for things like that, it doesn't really go well, because CRM is a tool to assist salespeople getting back in, right? Bring deals in the pipeline, work the deals, win them, lose them, go on the next one. Okay, so it needs to be used for them. So how do you own it if it's for somebody else? That's one of the main reasons why sales reps don't leverage it. Also, it's hard to get focused. You just got a lot of things going on. Because if, let's say, you're having some issues with delivery, customer service, billing problems, and then all of a sudden the sales rep's now customer service rep, they're being pulled in a lot of different directions. Okay, that can be a reason why they don't leverage it. And then lastly, procrastination. And some of it is maybe human nature, but also some of it is, is the intent is there. Maybe you have a sales rep that's driving 4 hours for a 3-hour meeting, then driving 4 hours back, and guess what? Their kid's playing soccer game, and they're trying to balance everything, and then they think they'll put it all in the next day, and they either forget or they don't put all the data that they should have put in. So, we need to have a mindset to where the salespeople want to put it in. So, how do I get salespeople to enter the data in CRM? I've been fortunate. So my manager, Tom Dorn's an expert on CRM, and he's done some presentation. And he's made a comment a few times. If you file one sales rep, they all kind of tend to get the message. But the fear management only goes so far. And I worked with people that they just didn't want to put it in, and they were threatened with their jobs. And I knew somebody that lost their job because they just wouldn't put it in. And it really opened my eyes that you just can't force people to do it. And also, there needs to be some one-offs. You might have a salesperson, let's say Bob. Bob has been there 30 years, and Bob is a great salesperson. Customers love him. People buy from Bob. They only want to talk to Bob. But Bob doesn't even know how to log in his password. That's Bob. Okay. So we're going to fire Bob because he's not putting the data in, and he's the #1 sales rep in the organization. Well, we got to look past that. Now the goal is to have the mindset of, hey Bob, by putting this stuff in, it's going to help the organization take better care of your customers. Maybe we can do some more follow-up. We can kind of see on the shipping aspects of it. So, we're trying to get there, but like I said earlier, the goal of our organization is to win deals as a team. So to simplify that, to help get salespeople to put it in, I kind of have a couple things here. The first thing I have is the 3 points. Okay, the who, what, and the next step. Okay, who'd you talk to? What'd you talk to them about? What's the next step? So let's say an example. Let's say I talked to a customer and they said they had some issues with expense reporting. So in my conversation, I talked to them about the wonderful product of the expense reporting that Equisys has. So my next step is I'm going to reach out to Sandra from Equisys and explain this and try to set up a demo, and then have a date where I'm going to get back with the customer. And boom, I put that in my CRM. Okay. So that might have took 3 to 5 minutes. I didn't have to write a book. Okay. I understand the goal is to get more data in there as we can, but that's a good starting point. And maybe the rep has more time to add to it, but let's at least get those 3 points in, because we're going to this doctor mindset. So if you think about when you went to go visit your doctor 20 some years ago, 15 years ago, hey, how's it going? You kind of have a conversation, you talk about things, and oh, here's your prescriptions, and you would leave. Not anymore. Okay, because right, CMA, the Medicare, Medicaid organization is saying that you have to go through this checklist of things and submit this data in a timely manner, or you're going to get fined. So the doctor's like, I really don't want to get fined. So now they're coming into their doctor's offices, talking to patients with their laptops, or they have somebody else in there. And so they're going through this whole checklist of questions, right, to make sure that they're getting all those things on the list so they can check them off and then get it submitted on time. The plus of that is they're getting that data put in, but the con of that is how do you active listening? Because when I went in the last 2 times to see my doctor, I mean, he's looking at the screen instead of looking at my eyes asking me these questions. So, but the mindset of that is maybe when a sales rep is, instead of using the legal pad, and I'm addicted to my legal pad, I'm trying to get better. I pull up my laptop and say, hey, do you mind if I keep track of notes on here to help me make sure I'm not forgetting anything? Sure, that's fine. So, we're trying to get into the mindset. And the last way of doing it, what I've talked about on some of my other sessions are, how do you get the reps to do it? You need to make CRM indispensable. So what does that mean? So sales reps like myself, live in Outlook, email, take the email away from your sales rep. Oh, they don't want to do that. What about your cell phone? I don't want to do that. So we need to make it to where it's a resource, to where it's safe to put the stuff in, that they can use it to help them do those, bring them in the pipeline, work them, win them, lose them, go on the next one, to where when they come into work in the morning, when they fire up their computer, they want to fire up their CRM and use that to help them do their job. And when you do that, the data entry will come along. So what I'm winding up here on my last slide, okay, is, how are you using your data? Are you using it for coaching or for compliance? Because the culture needs to be, if you truly want an accurate pipeline, okay, we want to be able to say, okay, you don't need to have as many deals as this person. Maybe they have a bigger territory. What we want in the pipeline are real quality deals, okay? And so, it's okay. Because when you get to the big brother watching you, the compliance issue, hey, I notice you only have 15 deals and the other guys in your region have 20 deals. Well, that's kind of what you're asking for, because it becomes a coaching opportunity. So, you look in here, you got Coach Wooden, who from the great state of Indiana. He coached at South Bend Central, went to Indiana State, then went to go UCLA, won 9 out of 11 national championships in 11 years. And if you look at Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, listening to every word he's saying, because he wants him to be the best player he can be and help the team be the best they can be. It's not about Coach Wooden, it's about them. It's about him owning his position and wanting to become better in what he can do, right? It's someone that can give correction without resentment and not having to worry about everything that you put in is going to have all these eyes upon it and get at, and looked at and questioned. And it's so easy to do that. And so we need to have a process in place so we don't do that. Okay. And, I was talked about that one person that maybe had trouble not wanting to put his stuff in and hey, look, it's our customer. Appreciate you getting that customer. As a sales rep, when you bring people and bring business in, you have this connection, you feel like that, it's kind of because of me. Well, it might be because of you because we gave you that opportunity. But now that you got that company to come in, it's our job as a team to take care of the customer. Because number one, winning as a team has to be a top priority. All right, so I'm going to open it up for questions, and hopefully we got some questions out there. Tim, any questions that anybody put in?
We had one ask for clarification. So the question is the 70% ranking of an opportunity, is that a representation of the probability of a win, or is it a benchmark of where the opportunity is in the sales process?
Yeah, I think towards the end of that is the answer. So, it's almost like a debate, because you want to kind of use the deals you have in your pipeline for forecasting. But I am from the school, and this is, from years of it, that it is the stage of the process that you are in and not a win probability. So I don't know if that answered the question. So, because the example I've used before is, let's say you have $4 million in your pipeline, and you got 4 deals that are getting ready to close, and you have one deal that's it's a 2 million of that, okay, and you deliver the proposal, so you're at 80% of it, okay, and they say no. But if you forecasted that 2 million at 80%, that's a huge chunk, right? So we don't know. So that's why I'm a proponent of that's the number where you're at in the process of that opportunity. Good question.
All right, we got another question
Oh,
come through.
okay.
What's an effective question to find out the details of the customer's buying process, budget, timeline, etc.?
That's a great question, right? So, I'm from the school, you just ask. So as you're engaging with your customer, everybody has budgets. And like I said, most budgets are usually less than what they should be, right? So what I normally like to ask, because it's really, so when you're engaging with new customers, prospective customers, you're trying to see if there's a fit. But there's this thing called money, right? No one has enough of it and everybody else wants it. So, I usually ask, so what's your budget for this? Okay. And tell me about your timelines. Then also, because people do go over budget, what are the goals of you're trying to achieve with this? But I guess at the stage the way you ask, it really depends on what you sell. If it's um, some sales cycles are small. Large projects like here at Innovia, we sell ERP software. We help companies get more out of their software. So the discovery phase is so important, right? So we're trying to learn from each other. First off, that there's a fit, and secondly, can we help you? But we need to know, if you're thinking 10 grand and it's 100 grand, it doesn't really matter if it's going to help you. But if you're close, hey, let's have this conversation, because usually there's ROI involved and there's other things. But I think, through discovery, once you get past the, hey, how are you doing, see if there's a fit, I think that's kind of you're getting to the stage, where you can. But sometimes early on it's not a problem to ask, because you think about it if you bought something and you're thinking, no, this is, like, I'm going to buy central air for my house. I think it's 1,000. You find out it's 4,000. It's like you just spent 4 hours and you don't have the money. So that was another good question.
Hey, Steve, well, I think that's all the questions we have today.
Well, great. I just wanted to share a couple more slides here. That this, along with a lot of our presentations, are on our website at innovia.com, and you can see the events. Once again, my contact information is here, and please, if reach out if you have questions about about your pipeline or about sales coaching, or however we can help you here at Innovia, and we appreciate you taking time out of your busy day.
Steve, we have another question that just came through.
Okay.
All right. What is the best way to prospect as an ISV working through the reseller?
Working with a reseller.
Yep.
So, so as a salesperson in mindset, when we're, everything is about, you're trying to help your customers achieve their goals, right? And, the top salespeople, right, are really there to help the customers solve their problems. And they understand that. So, really it's how you can try to partner with and help. And it really depends on the fit. So if you're, in this case, because at Innovia, we deal with a lot of ISVs. And so when we recommend an ISV, we're kind of putting our stamp on there that Innovia recommends the ISV. So we have to have, first of all, the trust that this, like the customers learning trust from us, that they are who they say they are and can do what they say they can do. And then when there's a customer that solution is a good fit for, is to bring them together. So I guess really to be there as a resource and provide support, be transparent on what you can do and can't do, and then just kind of be a partner. So I think that's kind of how I would approach it. Good questions. Any more, Tim? Or
Nope, I haven't seen any more come through.
well, I for those of you that are interested more in CRM, I've done a couple other ones called Cracking the CRM Code for us. I'm actually going to be doing this session again next week for the user group. So if you want to, you can check it out there. I've also done it on automating chaos, which is basically understanding how to automate processes in your CRM. And so once again, I thank you for joining today, and have a good rest of your day.